Most companies see an employer resignation as a failure. It's a loss, right? A disruption, a cost you have to manage. But what if that's a totally wrong way of looking at it? What if an employee leaving was actually the start of a new, incredibly valuable relationship? Let's dive into how one company turned goodbyes into their greatest strategic advantage.
Really think about it. We pour so many resources into stopping people from leaving. But what if we invested just as much energy into managing their departure in a really smart way? It's a total mindset shift. We're moving from damage control to actually creating brand new opportunities.
And hey, this isn't just some business school theory. We're going to walk you through the real story of a startup that was facing a serious crisis. They were just bleeding their best and brightest people, and they used this exact mindset shift to not only stop the bleeding, but to forge one of their biggest competitive strengths.
Okay, so let's start with the problem. Picture this startup as a leaky bucket. They'd hire these absolutely brilliant people only to watch them slip right through the cracks. The real mystery wasn't just that people were leaving, but why.
This was the number that just woke everyone up. A 40% annual turnover rate. Just imagine looking around your office and knowing that in 12 months, almost half of the faces you see are going to be different. It's totally unsustainable, it's crazy expensive, and it's a giant flashing red light that something is fundamentally broken.
So, what did they do? Well, instead of panicking, they decided to start looking for clues. And they realized pretty quickly that the best clues were held by the very people who were walking out the door. It was time to turn the boring old exit interview from a checkbox exercise into a vital intelligence gathering mission.
And this is the key tool they used: Exit Interview Analytics. Now, this isn't just asking, why are you leaving? It's a structured, systematic process. You collect real data, you hunt for patterns, and this is the most important part. You actually commit to acting on what you find. It's all about turning anecdotes into hard evidence.
And once they started analyzing all that data, the patterns were crystal clear. And guess what? It wasn't about the money. People felt stuck, and they felt exhausted. The huge insight here was that these were all issues of culture and structure, problems the company actually had the power to fix. And this one quote from an employee who was leaving just captured the whole problem perfectly. "I love the work, but I felt like I was running on a treadmill to nowhere." See, it wasn't about a lack of passion for the job. It was about a lack of a future. This gave a real human voice to all those data points.
Okay, so now the startup understood why people were leaving. The next step was to make the business case for a huge change. And, in business, that means one thing: calculating the true, cold, hard cost of that 40% turnover rate.
They realized pretty fast that the visible costs, the stuff you see on an expense report, like recruiter fees, were just the tip of the iceberg. The real damage was happening below the surface. We're talking about the invisible costs. All the knowledge that walks out the door, the projects that suddenly stall, and that crushing impact on the morale of the team that's left behind.
So let's actually do the math here. First up, the obvious hit. $25,000 on average just to find and hire one replacement. That's your recruiter fees, your job ads, and all those hours spent interviewing.
Then you got to tack on another $15,000 just in training and onboarding to get that new person up to speed. So right there, we're at $40,000 before the new hire has even contributed a single thing. But here it is. This is the number that truly changes the game, the one that most companies completely miss: an estimated $50,000 in lost productivity. That's the cost of the knowledge gap, the project delays, the team disruption, all of it. So when you add it all up, the total cost was a staggering $90,000 for every single departing employee. This wasn't just some HR problem anymore. It was a multi-million-dollar financial crisis.
So, armed with the why and the how much, the startup was finally ready to act. And they didn't just tweak the old process. They tore it down and built a brand new one from the ground up, based entirely on their data.
And the transformation was like night and day. The old process was basically an awkward, kind of emotional chat that ended with a firmly closed door. The new process? It was a strategic, respectful, and constructive conversation designed to leave that door wide open for a future relationship.
So their new process had 4 really clear steps. It kicked off with that data-driven interview to keep learning. Next, a formal knowledge transfer plan to stop that productivity bleed. Then, a feedback session that was a two-way street where they even offered constructive advice for the employee's next role. And finally, the absolute game changer, a formal invitation to an exclusive alumni network.
Now, this last step is where the strategy really becomes long-term. They recognize that people who leave on really good terms can become your biggest fans, your future clients, your best sources for referrals, and yes, sometimes they even become your best future employees again. They actually formalized this with a program called Alumni Tracking. The goal was super simple. Treat former employees like valued alumni from a top university. You keep them in the loop, you celebrate their successes, and you create a community that offers benefits to everyone long after their last day. And the results after just 1 year, they were incredible. And the value came from all over. Yeah, sure, 15% were so-called boomerang employees who came back. But look at the rest. 30% of their value came from candidate referrals, 10% from alumni who actually became clients, and a huge chunk from valuable industry intel and just being positive brand advocates out in the world. This is the real ROI of a strategic goodbye. So this is really the core lesson here. By totally redesigning their exit process, this startup transformed an ending into a transition. They stopped seeing departures as a loss and started seeing them as a growing network of talented allies. And that leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. Is your company's exit process a back door where amazing talent leaves and is just lost forever? Or is it a revolving door, thoughtfully designed to let great people, great ideas, and great opportunities come back around? The choice? Well, it can make all the difference.